So let us talk about the first segment of today's session, that is the terms that you should know. So in order to understand code mixing and code switching, first of all you should know what does a code mean in this particular topic, that is aspects of language MEG4 paper of your IGNOU syllabus. So code in general means a language peculiar to a specific group. Okay, so codes are particular grammar of specific tongues, rules for constructing and deriving words and sentences, inventories of sounds to convey meaning, rules for uttering those sounds, rules for translating those sounds into graphic symbols, that is writings, etc. So for the sake of the convenience of this session, we'll generally try to understand code as a language of a specific group. So all you need to remember is that code refers to a language, all right, to a particular community or a specific group, followed by the word monolingual. So I think all of you are already familiar with this coming terms that I'll be saying, but still for the sake of this session, I'll again revise those for you. Monolingual is the condition of being able to speak only a single language. Okay, a particular person who is only capable of talking into a or speaking into a particular one language is known as monolingual. Then we have bilingual. Bilingual means being bilingual means able to communicate effortlessly in two languages, even if one was learned later in life and communication takes on occasional detour or occasional basis. So basically bilingual means a particular person who is totally fluent in two languages. All right, then we have multilingual. Multilingual means a person that speaks more than three languages. So I think in today's world all of us have to agree that most of us are multilingual, as other than our native tongue we are often able to speak Hindi and English very fluently because that is there in our curriculum. All right. So after that we have lexical. This term is very important because again a very technical term used in the linguistics. Lexical means relating to the word or vocabulary of language. Alright, so any particular thing that is related to the word or vocabulary of a particular language will be termed as lexical. Alright, then we have phonology. The phonology means the study of how sounds are organized and used in natural languages. So I have tried to keep simple definitions for these terms. Obviously in the coming sessions we'll discuss everything in details, but for the sake of this session I've kept the definitions very simple. Coming to the second part of the session, where we'll be discussing about the definition of code mixing and particularly the examples. Before we do that, those people who are watching my videos for a long time know that I often introduce the video or the session by saying, hello friends, hope all of you are doing well. Yes. So in today's session, I have tried something else. I think you have noticed that I have rather said that hello dosto, hope all of you are doing well. So basically this is an example of code mixing. Now I think some of you have already got the idea that what I'm trying to say here. Basically if you see the sentence that is being displayed in the screen as for now, the entire sentence is in English except for the word dosto. Alright, dosto is a word from Hindi. So what I have done here is that the matrix language is English, and the embedded language that I have used in order to convey my thoughts is Hindi. Alright, only a word. Okay, not a major section of the sentence, only a particular word I have used. So this is an example of code mixing. Alright. So let us now know what does a code mixing means. Code mixing is possible in bilingual or multilingual environments. By this example that I've just given, you have already understood that obviously the use of two languages is primal in order to use code mixing. That's why this point is very important. Also, I recommend that in exams, if you're asked about code mixing, it will be convenient for you to answer that in points so that you can get more marks. Alright, so code mixing is also a language contact phenomenon that doesn't reflect the grammars of both language working simultaneously. As you have seen in this example that I've given you, primarily the matrix language that I've used here is English, and only the particular word which I've used instead of friends is dosto. And so we see that grammar is not involved here of the embedded language, that is Hindi. Alright, words are borrowed from one language and adapt it in other language, and it is usually without a change of topic. So again, I'll tell you the same example like hello dosto, hope all of you are doing well. Again, the same word, I'm just saying that this is not changing the context of the meaning of the entire sentence. Those of you are listening my videos for quite some time know that I introduce myself by saying this line. I try to connect with people with saying this line, and here by saying dosto, I'm just trying to reach a wider audience here. Fine. So it often occurs within one sentence. One element is spoken in language A and the rest is in language B. So as you can say in the example, the rest of the sentence is in English, only a particular word is used in Hindi. This term is usually found in mainly informal interaction. So this is very important, guys. I'll try to elaborate this sentence very nicely. You see, if you try to present a paper in seminars or in, like, good speaking platforms, often you will see the speakers don't switch languages or they don't mix languages. Okay, so if a particular seminar is in Hindi, the person will try to stick in entirely in the language, Hindi language, or if it's in English, he will try to present his paper or particular topic he is speaking on in English. So informal discussion or informal interactions, you will see, like in this session I am having an informal interaction with you. So sometimes I try to be bilingual, where I try to introduce both English and Hindi. So these are some informal interactions where we use code mixing primarily. So let me give you other examples where you will try to understand that how code mixing is used. Say suppose I say the sentence that Mumbai is a city of dreams. After all, it is Amchi Mumbai. So Amchi word that is used here is primarily a Marathi word that I have tried to infuse in the primary matrix language, that is English. The effort has been done to convey the entire message in English, but a particular word from Marathi has been used here in this sentence in order to connect to a wider audience. So moving on, let's see that what are the reasons for the code mixing. So I'll try to keep things very simple in this session so that it is easier for you to answer and also to make notes from this video. So the reasons primarily for code mixing are interjection, quoting somebody else, expressing group identity, because of real lexical need, talking about a particular topic, repetition used for clarification, being emphatic about something, to soften or strengthen request or command, intention of clarifying the speech content for interlocutor, to exclude other people when a comment is intended for only a limited audience. So I think most of you have just can read all the points and the reasons in the screen, and I don't see as well there is any need for explanation of those reasons in particular, because I want to keep the session as simple as possible. But in case if you have any doubts regarding any particular reason here, you can comment in the comment section. I'll try to address in the next session where I'll be discussing about the code switching. Alright, let's move on to the next section of the session, that is types of code mixing. So basically code mixing is divided into two categories. The first one is intra-sentential code mixing and the second one is intra-lexical code mixing. So let us first of all discuss the intra-sentential code mixing. This kind of code mixing occurs within a phrase, a clause or a sentence boundary. So it's a little better for us to understand this intra-sentential code mixing with the help of example. So let us see an example here. Ram is eating aam and playing with Lakshman. Alright, so the entire sentence, the matrix language that is used in this language is English, and only the word aam, which is a substitute of mangoes in English, in Hindi, has been replaced. So we can see that only in a particular sentence we have just changed a particular word. Alright, so it is happening within a sentence boundary. So this type of code mixing is known as intra-sentential code mixing. Alright, the second category is very important for you to understand, because compared to the first category, the second category is little bit complicated to understand, and I'll try to make things simpler for you. The second category is intra-lexical code mixing, and this means that this kind of code mixing occurs within a word boundary involving a change in pronunciation. Alright, so this is quite challenging here. So I'll try to give the example from which you'll be able to relate. Now most of you watch Hollywood movies, of course you do, we all do. And we notice that sometimes what happens in the movies, suppose we are watching a Hollywood English movie and suppose we see some Spanish actors or Russian actors trying to say English sentence. Alright, so what happens while speaking is that they try to say in English, but the pronunciation is somehow reflecting their native Spanish or Russian language. Alright, so you might have seen that in a lot of movies there, that when a particular actor which is particularly Spanish or Russian or any other a lot of peoples are there in Hollywood actors which are not of basically English origin. When they speak, their original native pronunciation gets reflected in the English language. Alright, so those type of code mixing is known as intra-lexical code mixing, where we see a change in pronunciation.